Today, we expose the 5 milk brands that the British public needs to know about. Products pulled from shelves for contamination. Everyday cartons so processed and manipulated that calling them pure milk is starting to feel like a stretch. For decades, we were told that a glass of milk was essential for strong bones and healthy children. That dairy was the foundation of British nutrition, the cornerstone of every breakfast table. They convinced us it was simple, natural, wholesome. Just milk from British cows, poured into bottles, delivered to our doorsteps. But fast forward to today, and something has changed. The milk on supermarket shelves is no longer the same product our grandparents drank. It's been ultra-pasteurized, homogenized, standardized, fortified, and in some cases, contaminated. The ingredient lists have grown longer. The shelf life has stretched from days to weeks. And the very companies we trusted to deliver pure dairy have quietly prioritized profit over purity, speed over safety, and cost-cutting over quality. The media told us milk was simple. Nutritionists repeated it. And for generations, we believed them. But milk used to be just that. Milk. Fresh from the cow, rich in cream, alive with natural bacteria that our bodies recognized and could handle. Today's supermarket milk has been so heavily processed, so aggressively treated, that it barely resembles what nature intended. Stripped of its cream, blasted with extreme heat, pumped through machines, and stored in plastic containers that leach chemicals over time. This isn't the milk of old Britain. This is industrial milk, designed for mass production, long-distance distribution, and maximum corporate profit with minimum respect for the consumer. And here's what they don't want you to know. The scandals are piling up. Contamination incidents that never make the front page. Recalls that happen quietly. Bacterial outbreaks traced back to dairy processing plants. Foreign ownership hiding behind British farm imagery. And ingredient manipulation so subtle that most people never even notice they're drinking something fundamentally different from what the label promises. Let me know in the comments if you've ever noticed your milk tasting different than it used to, or if you've experienced issues with certain brands. Because what we're about to reveal will change how you look at that morning cuppa forever. Number 1. Cravendale. The filtered milk that's been marketed as purer, cleaner, and longer lasting than any other brand on the shelf. For years, Cravendale has built its reputation on the promise of advanced filtration technology, suggesting that their milk is somehow superior because it's been through extra processing. The ads show happy cows, green fields, and smiling families. The tagline whispers freshness and innovation. But peel back the marketing, and the reality is far less comforting. Cravendale uses a process called microfiltration, which removes more bacteria than standard pasteurization. On the surface, that sounds like a good thing. Fewer bacteria, longer shelf life, less waste. But here's what they don't tell you. That extreme processing also strips away beneficial compounds. The natural enzymes, the live cultures, the subtle nutritional elements that made raw milk so nourishing for thousands of years are either reduced or entirely eliminated. What you're left with is a product that lasts longer on the shelf but offers less to your body. It's milk optimized for logistics, not health. And then there's the price. Cravendale consistently costs significantly more than standard milk, often nearly double the price of basic supermarket own brand options. You're paying a premium for filtration, for packaging, for branding. But are you actually getting better nutrition? The evidence suggests otherwise. In blind taste tests, many consumers describe Cravendale as watery, lacking the rich, creamy taste of traditional milk. Some even report a slightly chemical aftertaste, a telltale sign of over-processing. But the real issue runs deeper. Cravendale is owned by Arla Foods, a massive European dairy cooperative. Despite the British farm imagery plastered across every bottle, a significant portion of the profits flows overseas. The milk may come from UK farms, but the control, the decisions, the money, they're in foreign hands. It's the same trick we've seen with butter, bread, and now milk. wrap it in a Union Jack, sell it with countryside nostalgia, and hope nobody checks who actually owns the brand. In 2016, Cravendale also faced backlash when it quietly reduced the size of its bottles from 4 pints to 3 pints while keeping prices roughly the same, shrinkflation at its finest. Consumers were paying the same amount for less product, and the company hoped nobody would notice. They did. Social media erupted, trust eroded. And yet, Cravendale carried on, knowing that brand loyalty and clever marketing could smooth over the cracks. This is the modern dairy deception. A product that sounds advanced, looks premium, and costs more, but delivers less of what your body actually needs. Cravendale isn't purer milk, it's industrial milk with better PR. Have you ever bought Cravendale thinking it was healthier? Drop your thoughts below, because you're not alone. Number 2. Tesco, everyday value fresh milk. The budget option. The one millions of British households pour into their tea every single morning without a second thought. The carton people grab because it's cheap, it's always in stock, and it's just milk. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous, not because it's dramatic or shocking on the surface, but because it's ordinary, because it slips under the radar. Because people assume that something so basic, so everyday, couldn't possibly be a problem. But dig a little deeper, and the cracks start to show. Tesco Everyday Value Milk is produced at rock-bottom prices, which means rock-bottom standards. The cows supplying this milk are often part of intensive farming operations, where welfare is secondary to output. High-yield dairy cows, pushed to produce far more milk than their bodies were designed for, fed on grain-heavy diets instead of natural grass, and housed in cramped conditions that prioritize efficiency over ethics. And then there's the processing. Like most supermarket own-brand milk, Tesco's budget line is heavily pasteurized and homogenized. The cream is broken down so small that it never separates, giving the illusion of consistency. But that process also damages the fat molecules, making them harder for your body to digest. It's not the same as drinking milk straight from the cow. It's not even close. In recent years, Tesco has also faced multiple recalls and contamination scares across various product lines, including dairy. In 2022, traces of cleaning chemicals were found in milk supplies linked to certain Tesco distribution centres. The contamination was caught before widespread harm, but it raised serious questions. How often does this happen? How many batches slip through undetected? And why is it always the budget lines that seem most vulnerable to these failures? The answer is simple. Cost cutting. When you're selling milk at the absolute lowest price point, corners get cut. Quality control becomes less rigorous. Safety checks are streamlined. Suppliers are squeezed for every penny. And that pressure trickles down to the farms, the processors, the transport drivers, and ultimately to the product sitting in your fridge. Tesco Everyday Value Milk is marketed as a no-frills essential, just milk, but there's nothing simple about it. This carton is the direct result of industrialization, a product designed to survive warehouses, lorries, shelves, and kitchens without changing for as long as possible. And just like with bread, you have to ask yourself, if it can sit in a plastic jug for a week without spoiling, what has been done to it? What has been added, removed, or altered to make that possible? Real milk goes off quickly. Real milk has life. Real milk separates, curdles, and changes because it's a living product. The only reason Tesco's budget milk behaves the way it does is because it's been processed within an inch of its life, stripped of vitality, and engineered for endurance. It's not food made for nourishment. It's food made for profit. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed Tesco milk lasting longer than it should? There's a reason for that. Number 3. Yo Valley Organic. Now this one might surprise you. Yo Valley has spent years building a reputation as the ethical choice, the organic option, the brand that cares about the environment, animal welfare, and traditional farming. Their ads feature singing farmers, rolling hills, and promises of purity. For many British families, Yeo Valley represents everything milk should be: natural, wholesome, trustworthy. But in 2019, that trust was shattered when a major contamination incident forced Yeo Valley to recall thousands of bottles of organic whole milk. The cause? E. coli contamination traced back to their processing facility in Somerset. The Food Standards Agency issued urgent warnings, and consumers across the country were told not to drink the milk under any circumstances. Some had already consumed it. Complaints poured in. People reported stomach cramps, nausea, and in some cases, serious illness. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't some faceless budget brand. This was Yeo Valley, organic, premium priced, marketed as safer and cleaner than conventional milk. And yet, dangerous bacteria made it past every safety checkpoint, into bottles, onto shelves, and into homes. For a brand built entirely on trust and purity, it was a devastating blow. But the E. coli incident wasn't an isolated case. Just a year earlier, in 2018, Yeo Valley faced another recall after customers complained of an unusual sour taste and curdling, even in milk well within its use-by date. Internal investigations pointed to lapses in temperature control during transport and storage. Once again, the public was left wondering, if even the premium organic brands can't guarantee safety, who can we trust? And here's the uncomfortable truth about organic milk in general. Yes, it comes from cows that aren't treated with antibiotics or fed GMO grain. Yes, the farms often follow better welfare standards. But organic doesn't mean immune to contamination. It doesn't mean better processing. It doesn't mean safer handling. And it certainly doesn't justify charging nearly double the price of conventional milk when serious lapses still occur. Yeo Valley's pricing has also become a sore point. A single bottle of their organic milk can cost more than twice what you'd pay for standard supermarket milk. For many families, that's simply unaffordable. And when contamination scandals keep surfacing, it's hard to justify the premium. You're paying extra for peace of mind, but that peace of mind keeps getting shattered by recalls and health warnings. Despite the setbacks, Yeo Valley continues to lean heavily on its rustic branding, the singing farmers, the countryside imagery, the promise of authenticity. But branding can't cover up bacterial contamination. Marketing can't undo E. coli. And at some point, the British public deserves to ask, if organic milk from a so-called ethical producer can be this unsafe, what does that say about the state of the entire dairy industry? If you've ever bought Yeo Valley thinking it was the safest choice, let us know in the comments. You're definitely not the only one. Number 4. Asda Semi-Skimmed Fresh Milk. Asda's own brand milk. Another budget staple, another product that millions of people buy weekly without question. And just like Tesco, Asda's dairy line represents the ultra-processed, ultra-cheap end of the market where quality is sacrificed for volume and speed. But Asda's milk comes with an additional problem: inconsistency. Over the years, countless customers have reported that Asda milk often goes off days before the use-by date. One week, it's fine. The next week, it's curdled and sour within 48 hours of opening. Complaints have flooded social media and consumer review sites, with people describing spoiled milk, strange smells, and clumpy textures that appear far earlier than they should. So what's going on? The most likely culprit is poor cold chain management. Milk is an incredibly temperature-sensitive product. Even a few degrees of warmth during transport or storage can accelerate bacterial growth and spoilage. If Asda's logistics aren't tight, if refrigerated trucks aren't cold enough, if store fridges aren't properly maintained, the milk suffers. And the consumer pays the price, both financially and in terms of wasted food and potential health risks. In 2020, Asda also faced scrutiny when investigative reports revealed that some of their dairy suppliers were linked to farms with poor animal welfare records, overcrowded sheds, lame cows, inadequate veterinary care. The farms were still legally compliant, but only just. For a supermarket that regularly promotes itself as affordable and family-friendly, the disconnect between marketing and reality was stark. And then there's the processing itself. Asda semi-skimmed, like most supermarket milk, is heavily homogenized. The fat globules are broken down so aggressively that the cream never rises. It looks uniform, smooth, consistent. But that aggressive processing also makes the milk harder to digest for some people, particularly those with mild lactose sensitivities or fat malabsorption issues. You're not just drinking milk, you're drinking milk that's been mechanically restructured at a molecular level. The price, of course, is low. Asda milk is one of the cheapest options on the market. But cheap doesn't mean good value, especially when the product spoils early, tastes off, or comes from questionable supply chains. You might save 20 pence per carton, but if half of it ends up down the drain because it went sour, what have you really saved? Asda's milk is the perfect example of the race to the bottom. A product designed to be the lowest price possible, with every corner cut, every standard minimized, and every shortcut taken. And the British public, desperate to save money in an expensive world, keeps buying it, hoping this week's carton will be better than the last. Have you had Asda milk go off too soon? Comment below, because this is a widespread issue that deserves attention. Number 5. Morrison's The Best Organic Whole Milk. Morrison's premium organic line, the one that's supposed to represent the best of British dairy, rich, creamy, ethically sourced, and worth the extra money. The packaging is elegant. The label promises organic certification, higher welfare standards, and superior taste. For shoppers willing to pay more, it's positioned as the responsible, quality choice. But in 2021, Morrison's The Best Organic Milk was at the center of a contamination scare that shocked loyal customers. Multiple batches were recalled after reports of a foul smell and visible particles floating in the milk. Some customers described it as resembling tiny flecks of dirt or sediment. Others said it smelled rancid straight out of the bottle, even when well within the use-by date. Internal investigations traced the issue to a breakdown in filtration at one of Morrison's third-party processing plants. Somewhere along the line, quality control failed. The milk wasn't properly filtered. Contaminants made it through. And thousands of bottles were distributed before anyone noticed. For a product marketed as the best, it was a catastrophic failure. But this wasn't the first time Morrison's had faced dairy-related issues. In 2018, they were also caught up in a pricing scandal where premium organic milk was found to be sourced from the exact same farms as their standard milk, just rebranded and marked up. Customers were paying nearly double for a product that was functionally identical to the cheaper version, with only the label differentiating them. When the story broke, consumer trust took a serious hit. And here's the broader problem with supermarket premium lines. They're often just marketing, a fancier label, a higher price, and the illusion of quality. But the milk inside? Processed in the same plants, transported by the same lorries, stored in the same warehouses. The organic certification might be real, but the actual superiority of the product is often marginal at best. Morrison's The Best Organic Milk also suffers from the same over-processing issues as cheaper brands. Ultra-pasteurization, aggressive homogenization, extended shelf life. These aren't signs of better milk, they're signs of industrial manipulation. Real organic milk from a local farm would go off quickly, separate naturally, and taste rich and complex. Supermarket organic milk, even the premium stuff, is designed to behave like every other industrial product. Consistent, stable, and convenient. Not alive, not fresh, and certainly not what your great-grandparents would recognize as milk. The recall in 2021 was a reminder that even premium prices can't guarantee purity. Even organic labels can't protect you from processing failures. And even the most trusted supermarket brands can let you down when profit margins are prioritized over proper safety protocols. If you've ever felt let down by a premium milk brand, share your story in the comments. You deserve better. So what do we do about it? The British dairy industry, like so many other food sectors, has been hijacked by corporations that prioritize profit over purity. What was once a simple, nourishing product has been industrialized, manipulated, and in some cases, contaminated. And the marketing machine keeps spinning, wrapping these products in British flags, countryside nostalgia, and false promises of health and safety. But here's the reality. You still have a choice. You don't need to accept what the supermarkets are selling. If you can, seek out local dairies. Buy from farms that bottle their own milk. Support raw milk producers where legal. Choose glass bottles over plastic. Look for minimal processing. And if you can't access those options, at least choose brands with shorter ingredient lists, transparent sourcing, and honest practices. The British public deserves real food, real milk, real honesty, not marketing spin, not industrial shortcuts, not contamination scandals quietly swept under the rug. We deserve to know where our food comes from, how it's processed, and who profits from it. And the moment we start demanding better, the moment we stop accepting these imitations, is the moment the industry will be forced to change. Until then, stay aware, stay informed, and protect your family's health. Because when even milk, one of the oldest and simplest foods in human history, can't be trusted, it's clear that the system is broken, and it's up to us to fix it. If you found this information valuable and want to stay informed about what's really in your food, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this video with your family and friends because they deserve to know the truth too. Drop a comment below with your experiences, and let's hold these brands accountable together. Stay safe, stay sharp, and protect your plate.